Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant. Today is the 5th of December, and this is episode number 9. My name is Aaron Patrick. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Johann. Johann, how's it been? How's your week been?
Good morning, Aaron. Busy week last week. Lots of traveling. Fantastic 2 days at Accounting Web Live. We'll chat more about that later. And then, big business decisions. So we've closed down the Edinburgh office because it's only me that works there. So I'm now in my home office. This is version 1. Version 2 will have to have some new lighting, I think, to get rid of this lovely shadow. You only need one dome in the video shot, don't you? Don't need that second one. But yeah, how are things with you?
Very, very good. Yeah, as same as you, busy week. I'm actually looking forward to this week because it's the first week in how many is it going to be? 6 or so that I'm not going to be in a hotel room during the week. So that's a big plus for me. So I'm really looking forward to that one. We've got people in the chat already. So Paul, good morning to you. Hopefully you're having a good day. And if anyone else out there has got some questions or want to make some comments, and please do use the comments there. So we had some feedback from the show as well, didn't we? So we had some people at Countex come up to us. What did they say? Was it good or bad? Did they like it? Did they tell us to give up now, or how'd it go?
No, we got lots of positive feedback, I feel. It's still very surreal to walk into a room and to be stood there and to people come up to you and shake your hand and say, "Hi, I watched your show, I listened to your podcast." It's, and to hear stories. So like one gentleman was telling us how his mate listens in while at the gym, and the podcast is perfect for his gym session because it's only 1 hour long, and that's how long he spends in the gym. And just like, I'm not convinced that's the motivational, inspirational track you want when you're in the gym. I say that I don't go to the gym, so I wouldn't know. But, I normally listen to it to put me to sleep at night. Never mind motivate me in the gym. Overall, it was absolutely fantastic feedback. Everyone was saying how insightful it was and how helpful it was. And no one told us to quit and get out of the podcast world. So that's always a bonus.
That is a bonus. So some people were shocked at me for some reason. They all recognise you. You were working that the day, weren't you? So yeah. They all kind of knew to come and beeline over to you, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, what? You're Aaron?" It's like, yeah. I mean, I tried to come branded with the branding accordingly, but yeah, no, it was good to see. And the people that I bumped into, everyone, you said, had a really positive say on it, and a couple of people came to their first ever convention as well. So yeah. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Hopefully you all came away with it with all the benefits that we kind of promote during the show. So that was a good one. It was good to see people out there, good to kind of connect with people, and yeah, long may it continue. We have got some big plans for next season's worth of the convention. We're going to be looking to see maybe possibly some collectibles, something to hand out, and so next time you do say hi to us, you might get a little prize to accompany that as well. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that one. We've got a big show planned today, so we've got lots and lots to talk about, Accounting Web being most of that section. We've also got a bit of an MTD update, including some new software that's come to the forefront and how that's worked. And then we've just got a few other bits to finish off towards the end of the day. If you do have some feedback for us, don't forget to use the feedback button that'll be down below on whatever service you're listening to today. So make sure you use that button accordingly. Give us some feedback. Tell us what we've done right and done wrong. So maybe there's something that you don't agree with, or maybe you want to tell us that actually, yeah, that's exactly how you would do it. Either way, use the feedback button below or talk to us live during the show. Don't forget that we're also on Apple Podcasts and other podcast services of your choice. And if you do get a moment, please review or please leave a review to give us that helping hand. Wonderful. Let's go straight into the topics then. So topic number 1, as we mentioned, was all about Accounting Web Live Expo. I got it right for the first time. I learned actually how to say it. We've done a nice little breakdown of it ourselves. We've got some socials that we're going to be posting hopefully Thursday this week. So keep your eyes out for that one, where we go around and find some cool friends and ask them to promote themselves and give us a reason why we should be interested in their particular service. So do keep an eye out for that one. But the conference itself was over 2 days at Coventry. Lots and lots and lots of topics going on. There were 4 main topics, but we'll cover them over the boat, or at least 4 that came out as main topics that we'll talk about in a moment. But what was your initial thoughts, Aaron? How did you find the day? What did you think was highlights, lowlights, etc., etc.?
So it was a really good 2 days overall. I think day 1 was a lot busier than day 2. I question whether it needs to be a 2-day event. It certainly didn't draw in the crowds for day 2. It was very quiet. I would also say it felt like the end of the season. Like the swag, everything we saw was kind of swag we'd already seen. Everything we were being told is the same things we'd been told for the most part across all the other shows. However, it was a fantastic event for very good quality conversations. There was no rushing around as such. It was very much more conversational, networky than other events. Like Accountex can just be too busy. There's too much to see and do. You're in too much of a rush. Accounting Web Live, however, was fantastic. Location, as I said last week, Coventry is not my favourite place in the world. And I don't know. I know it's in the Midlands, so it's quite central in the UK. I don't know how well connected it really is to everybody. It took me 4.5 hours to get a train down, and it's a direct train, and that's great. But then I'm hearing people saying, "Oh, it was like who live outside London. It was 2 or 3 trains and 4 hours for them." And it's like, Christ, that is a big commitment. If you like, for me, I understand I've got to make that commitment to travel because I live in Edinburgh. I get it. But actually, if you live in what is relatively a short distance away from Coventry and you've got to travel for 2 or 3 hours worth of driving to get there, it's a big commitment. So whether the location was right and whether the dates were right, I don't know. Why would you put an accounting conference on the month end date? That challenged me. Having said that, now it's on the Accounting Web Live website. We can formally say that next year event will be mid-month. So it's going to be, I think, 15th, 16th of November.
That's right.
And it's going to be at the NEC in Birmingham, which I think is just more connected directly with trains. Obviously, you can fly in. You can drive in through the M6. It's nice and easy. And mid-month makes a lot more sense as an accounting firm to be able to spare resources to go to it. So yeah, they're my main thoughts. Overall, a really good 2 days. After party was interesting. You know, when you walk through the doors to an after party and the first thing you see is an ice sculpture that everyone's necking vodka straight from. I think that tells you the mood they're trying to set for that after party, and that's fine. We did a bit of networking, didn't we? And then promptly left about 8:30. So it wasn't a late one. But yeah, it was overall a very enjoyable 2 days. So what are your thoughts, Aaron? Anything different? Anything to add?
Yeah, I think a lot of what you've just said there. I think the big phrase we heard time and time again was quality over quantity. And that's where definitely a lot of people were probably focusing more on the positives of the fact that, because there was less people there, more opportunities to actually have a proper talk and a proper chatter and get things done. For me, it was definitely something that I was impressed with, is the fact that there was the opportunity for us to actually do some work in terms of like talking to vendors and actually do maybe some deals or look at changing, Accountex, digital accounting show, all of those are absolutely amazing. But because they're so frantic and so, busy, we don't actually get time to do much with them, and spend most of my time, actually, to be honest, just, keeping up with the day. Like before I know it, the day's gone and it's all done and dusted. But in accounting web, I was actually had the opportunity to talk to a couple of vendors, and we're going to make some big changes for our business and our practice going forward. And it was because of those talks and having those opportunities to really deep dive and understand. And I wouldn't have that time normally. So it's a blessing, isn't it, that we have that opportunity to do that with the event.
Yeah, especially for me on day 2, I spent a lot of time on day 2 making introductions, whether that was, introducing Cresco to QuickBooks again, lobbying QuickBooks to start talking to other app providers, because there's some big names from QuickBooks at these events over the 2 days. There's a lot of diplomatic work, shall we say, and negotiator work being done by ourselves to help. We want these apps to talk together. Let's use this event to get that to happen, because we've got the time to do it.
Exactly.
And we've seen the outcome of those things in the past. When app users lobby to get other apps to talk to each other, it can often be a very positive outcome. Yeah. And those apps were like, we always wanted to talk to each other, but we just didn't know who to talk to. Whereas we kind of know who those people need to be introduced to make it work.
And we have real pain points, don't we? It's like, when apps get developed, sometimes they're in their own little bubble and their own little world, and they've got crunch time and everything else that goes with it, and they're focusing on X, Y, Z for their roadmap. When we have the opportunity to talk to the actual users and go, look, this is my big pain point. A great example is what you brought with Cresco. Like, for us, our big pain point is we would love to just use Cresco exclusively going forward. We believe in their technology. We understand what they're trying to do. We love their technology, love the the features they brought to it. But until we can get QuickBooks to listen to us, that we need them to help us as well and help the developers going forward and improve their SDK, and we're never going to get that streamlined solution that everybody wants on par with what Xero's got. And it's not until people like ourselves are shouting out that they're our pain points that's actually preventing us from growing our practice, which means that preventing us from getting more QuickBooks license and helping QuickBooks grow. Then until we kind of make those sort of talks and shouting and about those sort of things, it's not going to do anything for us, is it? So yeah, you're right. It's good that we have those opportunities to do that. Like you said, with swag wise, it was there was quite a lot of swag out there, and it was quite good to go out there and grab some. QuickBooks themselves were pretty much just giving away some stuff that was old branding, so that was good to kind of stock up on. Dex kind of had quite a nice little feature, didn't they? The whole winter is coming box. That was impressed with that. That was good. Iris was behind a paywall, so you weren't allowed to have Iris's decent swag unless you were a particular gold member or whatever it was, wasn't it? So that was an interesting choice. Not 100% sure I'm on board with that one. But no, overall, I think the coveted one though, and I made sure I got some, was some accounting web socks. So did you grab yourself a pair?
No.
Oh, the beautiful socks, beautiful. And then we're gonna have to have another shout out the hammock socks as well, because you can never have too many of the hammock ones, can you? Lovely piece of swag then. We also got a bit of work done ourselves, so we went around and, like we said, we did a bit of social work. So we got the camera out and pushed it in front of people. So looking forward to see people's reactions to that one. And we got some good insights, didn't we, from people that we wanted to push and promote. But yeah, it was a good one. There was a bit of a breaking news we'll come to in a minute, so that kept us all talking. That got us chin wagging.
Day 2, didn't it? Day 2 was a bit quiet, but then we had the excitement of this news.
Yeah, kept everyone moving, kept everyone talking. And then, like you said, NEC next year. I think that's a good positive step, that one. End of the month was challenging, to say the least. I had my own challenges to be able to get stuff done. And I know a lot of people, that was what kind of stopped them from being able to attend the show in the first place, because they just couldn't risk not getting certain bits of work over the line. So having it that mid-month, I think, will be a massive help. I do have some slightly awkward news in who else is going to be joining us at the expo at the same time. So we're not going to have the expo all to ourselves as accountants. There's going to be the Family Attraction Expo as well. And just kind of read in with this. So it's going to be exactly the same dates, 15th to 16th of November. And it's all about people who provide VR experiences and other attractions, family attractions for businesses. There's over 500 exhibitors, and they're looking for around about 6,000 visitors. So I'm going to put my neck on the line and say, if you're going to want a hotel around the NEC area, you might want to start booking that now. So yeah, that's probably our top tip going forward. Going forward on that one. So yeah, overall though, positive, wasn't it? It's the end of the season, so we kind of got next season to look forward to. But yeah, it was a good event overall, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like there was a lot of us joking on day 2 about, everyone was getting rid of their swag. They wanted to clear the warehouses out because that was the 2022 season line. Everyone's already looking at what they're going to do. I was having some interesting chats with QuickBooks about different swag they were looking at doing for 2023 season. And yeah, it's very much like a bit of a fashion season, isn't it? Like, right, that's 22 done. Now let's look at 23. What's going to be the most popular type of swag thing? I think it's fair to say this year's definitely been water bottles, whether that's a plastic water bottle all the way through to lots of them were doing Chili's branded water bottles, which are not cheap water bottles to have.
Yeah, I can see 3 of them behind you. I mean,
well, yeah, I've got got half the store. But yeah, it's interesting the excitement that the swag brings, and that you want to be at Accountex next year when everyone launches their 2023 swag lines. So yeah, it's
before Accountex, we've got QuickBooks Connect, haven't we? So
yes, we have. Save the dates come out.
Yeah, save the date during the show. That was quite a clever way. Got people talking. We're all talking about it. Same venue as the last time it was live, so Billingsgate. So that's going to be exciting times. Looking forward to that one. And for people who want recommendations from a hotel, over the road is a hub, a Premier Inn hub, which I said that last time. Highly recommend it. Dirt cheap if you get it there early. So yeah, you're going to have a good time on that one. So make sure you keep an eye out for whenever it goes live. We don't know yet. Well, the only thing we do know is 1-day event. It's only accountants only. What we don't know yet is the price. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. Few kind of key themes about the expo itself. MTD, obviously, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Practice management. So maybe, just maybe, we've made a positive influence on the industry because it sounded like people were listening to us, weren't they? Practice management became a huge talking point in terms of what they can, what the software vendors can do for us accountants, how they can help us going forward. Even people like Hammock, who don't have any practice management solution, was saying how they're talking with Sage on how they can help improve it for accountants and help them. So that was a positive outcome from that one. We've seen a lot of chatter in the eco space about how accountants can be helped. I think it did kind of help that this whole expo was, the strapline was by accountants for accountants, wasn't it? So it kind of set the mood as to what to expect. But it was good to see all that. Hopefully that means maybe client engagers sometime around this time can be involved in one way or another. So yeah, we can push for that going forward. The other 3 main top talking points were skill shortages and automation. So yeah, we've got a massive skill shortage at the moment, and it's good to see that instead of just doom and gloom about it, well, what can we do to help? How can we improve efficiencies? How can we make sure that there's ways in which we can automate things going forward? And I can see that's starting to come to fruition now, which is good to see. Outsourcing was a big parcel of it as well, but that's always going to be there. If you like it or love it, then there's always an argument for each side. And then payment technology was the 4th and final one, which I would have thought at this point everyone's got their payment technology all sorted or done and dusted, but thankfully now that it's still a hot topic. And again, we'll keep pushing what we like about the payment technology side of things. Your Cresco of the world's trying to do something a bit different, and everything else. But we also got some news about KeyPay as well, didn't they? About their payment solution and how that was going to be brought out. So yeah, there was interesting talks. as we kind of expected going in. There wasn't any major announcements other than one piece of technology that we'll talk about later. But what do you think then? Do you think they were the right topics to be covering at this during the conference? Is there anything you think they should be covering in more detail?
I think they are the right topics. They are the topics that, I was appalled and ashamed of our industry over the weekend when on a Facebook group someone asked, are we going to be able to do, so it was in a landlord's Facebook group, someone asked, are we allowed to be able to do Excel sheets for MTD ITSA? An accountant said, I'm an accountant, what's MTD? And I'm just like, oh my God, this is what's wrong with the industry at times, is people like that. Thankfully, most of the landlords on that group actually knew what MTD ITSA was and were all over it. And, they're sharing what they're going to be doing, which is great to see that actually that industry is becoming more knowledgeable about what's coming up for them. So yeah, MTD is going to be there and it's going to stay. I reckon we're going to be seeing that on our list of speakers for what? Another 5 to 10 years, like until corporation tax is completely done, and maybe a year after that. Practice management, I'd like that was such a key thing, and I'll reference to what is a quote from our Ask the Accountant We Have Cool Friends episode that we're releasing in the coming days, and the guest on that show said that his one recommendation to accountants is that you get a practice management tool in place from day one, from client one, and use it going forwards, because that's the best way to do it. And I couldn't agree with him more. So the fact that practice management is now being talked about so widely, and it seems to be something people are looking at a lot earlier in the journey, is really encouraging, because the amount of people that look at it too late, even I did, I was 80 odd clients in when I looked at practice management tool, and it's like it was too late. I should have done it from day one. So to see people talking about practice management and people adopting it earlier in their journey as a firm and as a practice, that was really encouraging for me. So yeah, no, I think they're the right topics at the moment. I think payments is always going to be there, because we're always going to have someone come along who's got their own interpretation of how payments could be better, and they're going to be a bit of a challenger. So like Cresco coming along, they're challenging the likes of PayPal, etc. So yeah, it's always going to be a relevant conversation, I think, until it's got to the point where it's so simple that it's no longer a challenge.
I think the focus of payments this time around was more not so much you receiving money, but making payments for you.
Yeah.
Well, offering a new service, wasn't it? The opportunity for you to make payroll payments, etc., etc. And that really gets me excited. I know we've got our challenges with the banks not helping us along those lines, and we can have a whole topic on that one going forward, can't we? But for now, the idea that they are trying to help us and push it forward, it's always been there, the opportunity to do backs payments and everything else. But for every business or every practice out there, it was always a massive challenge to get backs approval and the costs involved and all the outdated technology. I mean, a lot of them still want fax machines and they want you to fax over their backs payments, which is just absurd in this day and age. But the fact that that's kind of been the push, and there was a lot of chatter, and I was really surprised about people, some of the people who came up to me about Ask the Accountant were talking about the fact that, oh yeah, they've just started using Cresco, after our recommendations and everything else. And, their big excitement about it is payroll runs and simplifying that, and a whole new service they can add to their practice and everything else. And that's exciting, isn't it? That's the bit that's going forward. And again, that's where, the more companies talking to one another, the more vendors talking to one another and helping and having those integrations, means we're going to have a better experience that we can then ultimately pass on to our clients.
Definitely is. Yeah. It's I had a long chat with Cresco about their payroll solutions. We're already using it to pick up the one-off invoices payments. So any tax returns, etc., get paid through Cresco. We're already using it for our international payments that we make. So the payroll solution is going to be phenomenal for us. So yeah, we had a long chat about that, and what their plans are, and it's all very exciting stuff. It's going to make a service that we've really been resistant to deliver now deliverable, which is always exciting. You know, when a software provider goes out and fixes a problem to the point that you can now offer a service that you didn't offer because of the headaches it could cause, then it's a winner for me.
Exactly. It gives you more services to give to clients, and ultimately keeps them more happy for you, doesn't it? Keeps them sticky. So that's what it's all about. I agree with that practice management part about the fact that it's good to see that there's more emphasis on it. But I think the reason there's more emphasis is the fact that practice management solutions do so much more now. Like back in the day, a practice management solution was just a database, wasn't it? It was a database of all your clients' data, and you'll be lucky if there's a tick box or somewhere that you could say that you've filed their return or whatever it's going to be. But they are doing so much more, you know, helping you generate more fees by sending out proposals, for example. They're the sort of things that are starting to come into more practice management solutions going forward. The opportunity to talk to things like HMRC or Companies House or whichever way around it's going to be, or both in some circumstances. Again, so powerful. It gives, you know, it automates that process for you as accountants. And I think the more we can kind of help push that forward and the more that ecosystem that can be built, then it's not just going to be a no-brainer. It's going to be essential for every practice to have a robust practice management solution they can bring along.
Definitely. And so, you know, Client Engage have just launched their pricing calculator built in, free of charge. It's like, as these practice management tools are building these new features out and making life easier, then actually it's slimming down your tool deck as well, or your app stack, as it were. So yeah, it's all really positive stuff going forwards.
And we need it all in one place. Like, a client rings up, they're not going to sit there wanting you to log into 7 pieces of software so that you can start talking to them about whatever it is they want to talk about. You want to go to one place, it's all there, and everyone's happy. And I think that's where, you know, for me, that's where the excitement's coming from with the whole practice management, you know, going forward and how it's going to work. So I'm looking forward to it. I think, you know, I think we're going to have that opportunity as well, especially the ones I was talking to, and those solutions about that whole ecosystem and how that ecosystem is going to go. I think that's going to be exciting. I think props to Sage. They kind of started this conversation about building a proper ecosystem. And I think it's just building on top of there. And I think certain software vendors are going to have to catch up and play catch up, and that'll be exciting to see. Other softwares are just going to build on their existing product. And overall, we're all going to keep pushing the boundaries of what practice management can do. So very excited to see that going forward. And then speaking of MTD being one of the main topics, it was one of our topics of conversation during the day, wasn't it? Oh, yes. So we had breaking news.
White House has commented saying he heard a rumor.
He did. There it is. Yeah. Yep. Heard there was some news about MTD. It's a accounting web from HMRC. Yeah, and you're the one breaking the news more than anyone else. So do you want to give a rundown of what was said and how the day unfolded in our eyes?
Yeah. So, was there news about MTD at Accounting Web Live? Yes and no. Yes and no. So, about mid-morning, we got a bit of a tip-off from a source to say HMRC had called a unspecified meeting with no fixed agenda with all software providers for the Thursday afternoon, which was last week. And then about an hour or two before that meeting, it got cancelled. But the overriding feeling from when they initially called the meeting was it was to tell the software providers that there would be a delay in MTD ITSA. And then when you take that into account, so if we're going to tell the software providers on a Thursday afternoon, HMRC like to announce things like this on a Friday afternoon so they can have a weekend off before all the rubbish hits the fan on the Monday morning. So yeah, but then the meeting gets cancelled and there's no announcement made. And HMRC confirmed on Thursday had no communication plans or announcements scheduled for Thursday or Friday last week. I think it's inevitable at this moment in time. That's the general feeling everyone had at Accounting Web was HMRC are not ready. They haven't got the technology in place. They haven't got the answers to the situations that we keep giving them, where we've got multiple people in various positions. So a sole trader builder who's got a property in a limited company and a property in a partnership, etc. How do we deal with that? Because partnerships aren't actually involved in MTD ITSA. So are we just reporting the sole trader bit? What are we and what aren't we doing? and they don't have the answer for that. So, and until they've got the answer for that, the software providers can't build the solution to that answer. So yeah, unfortunately, it seems fairly inevitable at this stage that we're going to see MTD ITSA delayed by another year. I do not believe it will be cancelled. I think there's a lot of accountants that are still out there with their head in the sand saying it'll be cancelled, it won't go ahead. Because people are still saying that about MTD VAT, which is all now in full swing and completely done. So yeah, it won't be cancelled. Originally, the rumours were it was just going to be the landlords that are going to be dropped out. Then they were going to increase the threshold. I think they've realised even that's too difficult to govern, because if you're a sole trader builder or any hairdresser, whatever it is, and you've got a property, does that rule you in or out of the MTD scheme that does not include landlords? We don't know, and HMRC don't know. So I think they would rather pull the nuclear option, as one of my sources called it, and say we're delaying it for 12 months while we fix these, find solutions to these problems that you're presenting us. But yeah, that was very much the excitement of day two. It was a very quiet day two, numbers-wise, for attendance, which meant actually being able to chat to our sources, going around and talking to software vendors to see what they knew, was quite an exciting few hours. But yeah, because what's that? Rebecca Bennyworth from accountingweb.co.uk, their tax expert, said back in November to expect some kind of announcement on or around the 18th. 17th, 18th, she was expecting an announcement to delay or change the parameters. That didn't happen. And then for this to happen, to be spoken about again today, last week, something's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So yeah, let's see what happens. But that was certainly the excitement of day two, was trying to work out and plan around it, because a lot of firms have got huge business plans around this date.
Exactly.
Like, we've certainly got ambitions for when MTD ITSA hits and what we're going to need resources wise, what we're going to need facilities wise. But the software providers have invested huge amounts of money expecting a return on investment from the date MTD ITSA rolls out. Well, they're not going to see that for another year if it gets delayed for another year. I think I said on the day to yourself, Aaron, to a few people, the best solution HMRC can do right now is, if they need to delay, they need to delay. That's fine. But they need to open up the beta testing of the system to anyone that wants to use it, so that accountants like ourselves, who are proactive and early adopters, can start delivering on that new system as best practice wherever possible. Then they need to start educating the general public not in ITSA, and because HMRC's star with MTD VAT was, this is happening on this deadline by law, penalty, surcharges, penalties, blah, blah, blah. If they turn around and say, right, well, ignore the date it's going to happen, let's just educate sole traders that we've got the records for, that best practice is to use a digital accounting tool. That is what we see as best practice. If we communicate that for the next 12 months, when it then comes to communicating MTD ITSA, it's not going to be such a jarring, terrible experience for them. Unfortunately, I don't feel HMRC are going to be proactive enough to deal with that and to take that approach.
And also, it's not enough carrot on the stick, though, is it? So what I mean by that is, like, I just, full disclosure, I filed MTD ITSA last week. So I was one of them. But shockingly, I'm one of 61, I think it is now, filing in the UK. I mean, that is a ludicrously low number for saying that, you know, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be live in 2024. So, you know, there needs to be more of an incentive for you to go out there and put your name, like you said, open it up to more people, because even I had to kind of fight to get into the beta, even though that I wanted to be in the beta, and I had to kind of jiggle a few numbers here and there to make sure I was actually able to do it. So, you know, one way or another, I got into the beta, put it this way. And, you know, we're not allowed to talk about exactly my experience, but let's just say that the software I used was absolutely fantastic. The experience didn't go down according to plan, if we just put it that way. but there should be an incentive, like, you know, like you said, like open it up to more people, but also give an incentive. Like, it doesn't have to be large. Maybe a tax break or something, you know, give them something to be able to go on and utilize this new software and utilize this new way of doing it. The more people are on the beta, the more people actively wanting to do it. If you give clients the opportunity to save some tax by doing it that way, they're going to jump on it. You know, they're going to jump on the opportunity to go for it. So if we can kind of incentivize our clients to do it, then of course we're going to have an opportunity to bring more people on and test out the solutions and bring people on forward and everything else that goes with it. So I really do want to see something out there to say, look, let's incentivize them in one way or another, financially or however they want to do it. You know, maybe exempt them for penalties or whatever it's going to be. I don't know, but they've got to be some way of bringing that on. And then the more people we can test it and push it forward, the faster this whole thing's going to go forward. Because one of the things that, like you said there, is the fact that there is so many questions and question marks and technical issues. And how does it work if I've got multiple properties with not just myself, but with these other partners? And there's all these options and issues and problems that are coming up. But that's only because of the small subsection of people who are actually dealing with it at the moment. When we open this up to the whole population, there's going to be even more of these issues and problems and everything else. And we're not going to be able to deal with them and find solutions for them until we get to that point of actually having a vast amount of people actually using the solution. So we need to be pushing that as far as possible, you know, and also for the people like the Hammocks of the world who built their whole solution based on the fact that MTD is on its way. You know, if we delay this much further, those sort of solutions are gonna have problems, and they're not going to be able to fulfill, you know, their end of the bargain to their shareholders and everything else that goes with it. You know, we had the horrible news about Connect 4 last week, and more of those sort of situations could happen, and so solutions disappearing from us if we delay it much further, because people have been putting a lot of resources and time and energy into getting this right. So yeah, let's hope that it's not true. Let's hope we do have a more positive outlook on it. You know, delay some of it if you need to, but we need to be incentivizing people to get on that beta as soon as possible. I'm sure it's a topic we'll be talking about again and again on this show, won't it, Johann? So we'll come back to it later. Speaking of MTD, though, we did see a whole new product being released around MTD. So not everyone got the message that MTD was going to be delayed. No, we saw Dext, and they released their own MTD, and it's a solution. So we were able to actually see it, weren't we? We were able to look at it on screen and see how it looks and everything else. I know it's definitely something that was a lot of people talking about. It was something that, you know, was one of the few announcements of the show, and ultimately it gave us a solution where you could actually file MTD directly within Dex itself using their wonderful solutions they've already got. Yeah, OCR technology had this very peculiar way of doing it, where it was a kind of, you had to make a choice at the beginning. Do you want to just use Prime Records and OCR technology and take photos, and that was going to be your way of extracting the data? Or did you want to also use bank feed and let the bank feed come in? And it was a choice between the two. Yeah. A little bit confusing in my eyes of that one. I think that's going to be something that's going to be difficult to get through to clients, that you've got to make a choice. It's either Prime Records or bank statements. Choose which one you're going to go for. But ultimately, that's the way they've gone for it. They don't want to have a bookkeeping-esque solution. They don't want double entry. They don't want anything like that. They want to keep it really, really simple, which we definitely agree with. And there are a subsection of our clients that I think could benefit from that, and that could be quite a useful tool for them. But what was your overall opinion on the solution that we saw so far?
I think the solution is okay for the simpler clients out there.
Yeah.
So the ones where they can either use a bank statement where everything goes through the bank, that is all that they do. They don't have any cash or anything. That's great. Or if you've got a bit of both, you put everything through as receipts on Dext. I get it in theory. I think my biggest sticking point is the price point, in that they are pricing this. So when we had our demo, we were told it's going to be £5 per month for this software. And I'm sat there thinking, well, for £5 a month, I could put them on, if they were landlords, I could put them on Hammock. If they are anything else. They could go on Xero, they could go on QuickBooks, and have a much richer experience of their products. They could go on Sage. I don't know what Sage are offering for self-employed. I've not seen that product, and I've not seen the price point for it. But based on the market, I would argue Sage will probably do something similar.
Yeah, I think it's already been announced for something, hasn't it? Which has not been released yet. So
yeah, so I'm sat there thinking I've got all these options with richer features at the same price point, give or take a few pence, which makes it the Dext Itza product seem very expensive for a very large lacking amount of features.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for that reason, it's basically ruled them out of my consideration. If the features were, if they're keeping it as simple as they are, and the price point was £2 a month or something, £2.50 a month, I'd look at it, because a lot of these clients are going to be price sensitive. But when they're pitching it at the same price as QuickBooks Self-Employed, where they've got a mileage tracker, they've got better categorization, they've got more features, Xero Go, even QuickBooks Simple Start is only £1 more expensive a month than Dex's solution, but the value you get out of that is phenomenal. So yeah, I think they have got a solution. I get it. I get the solution they've got. I get the track. I think what they've completely and utterly misjudged here is the price point.
Yeah, and I think, to be candid on it and to make sure everyone's aware, they were very coy about the pricing. So we don't know if that's going to be the official pricing, and they were very coy about what's their pricing going to be and everything else. So given the benefit of that, maybe either we were told a different price point than what's actually going to be live or whatever it's going to be.
Yep.
But you're right, at that price point, it is a very hard sell, isn't it? I think that's the feedback we can definitely give them on it. I also think that the product wasn't when I was sold either, or at least what I was, maybe my expectations were too high, because the way I positioned Dex to be in the forefront of this solution was that, again, your QuickBooks, your Sage, your Xeros, they're all going to provide a solution for your clients who are happy to be on digital accounting solutions. Maybe not happy is not the right word, but are going to be on there at some point, kicking or screaming, or however it's going to be, they will be on these digital accounting solutions. And we're going to use all the features in there, from bank feeds and everything else, OCR technology, all the way through, and build all that in. And I've got a lot of time for that sort of stuff, because I think that's really exciting. And it gives us, as the accountants, and the opportunity to work with our clients. We've talked about it before. We build a solution around them. But we still got that subsection of clients who just can't do that. Like the farmers of the world and those sort of people, they're not going to be able to provide us or jump to a solution overnight, because they may not have great internet connection. They may not have, there's various reasons why they can't do the digital accounting world that we all want everyone to be on. And that's where I thought this was going to be positioned for. And I don't know where I heard this, or I don't know where I was speaking to someone about it, but there was a talk as well about white labeling that solution for you, so that you could provide a MTD solution for your clients, an upload portal or whatever it's going to be on your own website. That's where I thought this was going to be. And it's not, it's nothing like that. That this isn't that solution. As we do it now, we bridging solution for MTD VAT should have died and should be already gone by now. But if that does go overnight, we're in a bit of trouble for some of our clients, because we have those farmers who have always done it the same way. And all they do is they upload their data to us, we deal with it, and we basically become an agent for them to filing their VAT return. That's all we do for them. And I think that's where I was hoping this was going to position for the solution going forward, for that, for us to enable us to be agents to file digitally for paper-based businesses, basically. And I don't feel that this is that solution. I think we're still looking, there's still a space in the market for that solution going forward. I also do think as well, and we don't know for sure exactly this, but there are conflicting information about what MTD it's supposed to be, or what HMRC wants MTD it's to be. So at the moment, the way they were selling to us, one of their key selling points is that, you could do your quarterly submissions by a Dex MTD to ITSA, but then use another solution to your end of year solution to go forward. And for what we know, and HMRC are changing this all the time. But what we've been told is that's not going to be able to be done either. Like HMRC's whole point of this whole solution of MTD is that you do everything in one piece of software. So you do your quarterly submissions, you do that final submission, then you do your end of year all in one solution. How that's going to work when you've got multiple income streams, who knows yet? We're still trying to figure that one out ourselves, aren't we?
Yep.
I'll be one of those use cases because I've got rental income and I've got self-employed income. Somehow I've got to file that end of year submission in a solution, and it can't all be at the one because I'm having to use two pieces of software. So yeah, there's still question marks, and this is why MTD is probably going to be delayed. But I'm still confused about the price point. I can put to one side because we don't know for sure what the final price is going to be, but I don't 100% know what it's designed for. Like what is the big selling factor for this solution compared to something else?
Yeah, I think if you're a one-man sole trader and that's all you've got going on, Dex could be the solution for you. But then value for money, if it is £5 a month for the license, as we were informed at the event, I would argue there's better value for money on the market.
Yeah, agree.
And if you're going to be encouraging people into these products, you want them to see the benefits of using it. You don't want a bare minimum approach, which the Dex solution is a minimum standards. Like, this will keep you HMRC compliant, but it will do nothing else, which is fine. But you can't then price it in line with what I would class as best in class, which is your Xeros, your QuickBooks, your Hammocks, etc., that are delivering a solution above and beyond the minimum standard, increased value delivery when they're not at, and it's the same price as a minimum standard product. I know which one I'd go for.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also business advisors as well as accountants these days, aren't we? So we have to be telling our clients to go for the software that if it's £1 more and gives you 600% more features, then that's the feature you've got to go with, haven't you? You've got to for you to be able to be seen credible as the accountant for your client, you're going to have to tell them that. Now, there could be argument that it's some of the solutions out there are too complicated or too they've got too many elements to them that make it difficult to use. Like, the first time someone's ever seen QuickBooks, it probably is very daunting. Same with Sage, same with Xero. Like, there's a lot to take in there. There's a lot to understand. But if you can invest that half an hour to an hour worth of training with that client, then they're going to get so much more out of it that it's a no-brainer to spend that time to invest in the client, to bring them forward and go from there. Whereas, you could just tell them, here's your mobile phone, go take a photo with Dex or whatever the end solution is going to be for them. I can see that that's going to be it. But at the same time, QuickBooks also has QuickBooks self-employed. Like, we don't like the solution exactly, but there is a market out there for it. There are people out there that I've even tried myself, as a certified trainer and trained however many people to use QuickBooks in my whole life. I've still got a handful of clients who, even though I've spent and invested the time training to them, they've gone over to QuickBooks Online from QuickBooks Self-Employed and have said to me, look, I've got to go back. I can't do it. There's too much here, and I need to go back. I need to go back to my comfort blanket that I understood, which was QuickBooks Self-Employed. So, there's definitely, I can see the simplicity of it being the USP, and I can see that being the way forward. But like you said, if you can invest that time in a client and train them, they're going to get so much out of it going forward. So, anything else on MTD? So I think that's pretty much.
I think that's it. I think, what we didn't ask Dex was anything regarding a balance sheet.
It was no, wasn't it? Yeah, they said no.
It just isn't anything like that. So it is in line with the basicness of a QuickBooks Self-Employed product,
and
which has
Xero Go, like you said.
Yeah, Xero Go, which have, again, potentially more features than Dex are offering. So, I walked away feeling a bit flat, thinking this could have been their step into the general ledger market, and I think they've misjudged it quite badly from that point of view. I've got this image of this big. Can you remember the Receipt Bank expense card?
Oh yeah, yes.
Launched, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's a really cool idea. This could really work." It was what is today the equivalent of a Pleo card or a Satago card, and it just fell flat on its face because they were too expensive, feature poor, and a little uptake. And I've got a horrible feeling they've done it again with this. But we'll see. Time will tell. And hopefully, if they're getting this kind of feedback now, before it goes to beta testing today, so it goes to the general public of accountants today, and hopefully, if they're getting this feedback about pricing, they'll review it before they go to the public version later.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Because you're a big Dex advocate, you use it for a lot of your practice. You rave about the some of the data you get from it. The whole how much has been, what percentage has been automatically put through. So I think we need Dex in there. We need them to be still doing what they're doing. We need them still innovating and pushing the boundaries, because it's quite peculiar, isn't it, that they are probably the largest non-ledger, non-bookkeeping solution out there, aren't they? Like they've always got the biggest stands. They've always got all of the coolest swag, and they've got a really good emphasis on trying to help help accountants' pain points. And there's still more that they're being put. That they've got ambitions and they've got a roadmap that they're the only thing holding them back is the likes of QuickBooks and Xero not helping them be able to do what they need to do. So, writing's on the wall that maybe one day they'll bring out some sort of ledger of some sort. So we do want them to succeed. We are pro Dex in that sort of case. Definitely. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a bit of a misstep, isn't it, in terms of their initial reaction or their initial solution that they've put forward. So yeah, well, I think it's definitely something we'll keep our ear to the ground and see if we can go forward and push for them. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes back to questions, we had a few questions come in, but what we're going to do is we're going to hold them back for the next time. So remember, if you do have a question, don't forget to drop us on the link below. So we've got the little question box there. We've had a few comments going through, so I thought we'll end today on just going through comments, making sure that we bring it in. So we've already had the Paul Whitehouse one. Tony Walker saying it was all about the swag at Accounting Web. Exactly right. And how we also got the socks as they had his initials on. So yeah, hopefully
I saw Tony a few times over the 2 days walking around with numerous tote bags of swag. Yeah. So yeah, he definitely enjoyed the swag collecting process over those 2 days.
Yeah. Honorary mention as well. I must admit, I enjoyed wearing my own merch on this one. With the Xero is better than QuickBooks. No, sorry, QuickBooks is better than Xero shirt and the tote bag as well. So yeah, that went. That was good to do. Paul explained how he had to build his own practice management tool 20 years ago. So yeah, I must admit I did that back in the day. Build my own. And then there's a whole case study on the Accountancy Manager website at the moment where basically I realized that it doesn't matter how good I make it, I couldn't beat the opposition. So you had to join them, didn't you? So I went over and joined them. And now there's things like Client Engager that is going to just do it all for you. So yeah, make sure that you have a look at Client Engager there, Paul. I'm sure Johann can give you a nice little introduction there if you ever need it. Sarah says, Tony, it took me for a long walk to get from Tony to the name that begins with A, and it's my dad's names too. So fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. It's Monday morning.
Exactly. That's why we're here. It's to start those cogs going. Now we'll start helping you get those things. You'll be ready for the rest of the week. So that's good. Paul also says the ABA documentation mentioned MTD is still mission critical. My feeling is HMRC need more visibility and support on the pilot. And that's exactly it. That's exactly what we're saying.
The problem is that AAB document is actually the document that is petitioning HMRC to hold off for another year, if not more. And HMRC do need more support on the pilot, but the problem is they're not opening the door to let us put more people to get those answers.
Yeah. Was it you saying about how most of their team was taken off for COVID related tasks.
Yeah, my understanding is that a lot of the team that were building the MTD port ITSA side of things were redistributed during COVID to things like track and trace systems and not bounce back loans, COVID grants and stuff like that. And that's why they're further behind than I think they anticipated being, because, or we'd have known about these problems maybe a year ago if it wasn't for COVID, because they would have crossed those bridges already.
Yeah, and I know from initial talks I've had with certain software vendors in terms of betas and stuff, one of the things that HMRC just have a bee in their bonnet is the amount of data they want to collect from MTD. It's like there was, 45 different data points they want for your end of year submission, and out of those 45, 5 of them to me are relevant and important and critical, mission critical information. 20 of them will be a 5% of the population, maybe less, will ever need to worry about them. And the other ones are just ones that I had to get a book out to remember exactly what it related to. They were that old and that out of date. So yeah, they may be relevant for one person out of 6 billion, but yeah, I think HMRC need to work with the vendors as well and really pull down what we need, like what is mission critical data, because if that's the only way that these systems are going to work, if we can start them out as simplified as simple as possible, and then we can build on extra features down the line. Go for it.
No, that was it. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Paul also says, also HMRC has MTD. It's still limited to basic clients. I feel most of those basic sole traders are not using accountants anyway. Very, very good point. And we're pro that as well. Like, let's give clients the opportunity to be able to do their own if they need to, we can then support them in other ways. Hopefully we can, as they grow or anything else, you can pick them up there. But if that is the case and it's all going to be about most of them don't already have accountants, then we need more and more of those people being on the MTD themselves, because they're going to be the ones that are going to tell us right or wrongly what's right or how this is working. Because the software developers need to have the time to be able to develop more than just the submission side of things, but checking the data. Like we've already seen QuickBooks as roadmap. It's not just going to be about how to press the button to submit the data. It's also going to be how to check that data is right first and foremost. And more of that is so important going forward, to make it accurate, to make it worthwhile, to make the data actually meaningful. But again, if we don't have people utilizing the software and testing it out, then those sort of features will never get built. So comes back to the same problems, doesn't it? So a bit of incentivize them, HMRC, one way or another. I'm sure you'll get a big uptake. And then final comment of the day. I don't agree HMRC should make MTD one solution only. It's far better to have a solution for each trade. Let a client use Hammock for his property and QBO for his plumbing work. Then let them choose one for the final submission, which is designed to combine the results. Hopefully that's what's going to happen. I think that's the common sense approach, isn't it?
Yeah. The problem is, whilst we all would love that to happen, at the moment, if I file one from Hammock and then file one from QB, I believe at this moment in time, the way they've built it is the one from QB overwrites the information from the Hammock submission.
Yeah.
Or, submission 2 overwrites submission 1 because it's seen as an update, not an additional piece of information. I think that's one of the major flaws that HMRC are trying to overcome at the moment.
Yeah, exactly right. Because also out of all this, we're forgetting the fact that we're still going to need to produce a set of accounts for some of these clients, like sole trade accounts. Now, sole trade accounts aren't the most complicated pieces of paper in the whole world, but we still need sophisticated software to do that. Like ultimately at this point, Iris or CCH or whatever solution you're using for your accounts production software, you're having to send it to there. If your client wants to do a mortgage or anything, they're not going to just accept the SA 302s. They want to see a set of accounts in most circumstances. And HMRC want to encourage clients to have accounts to go with the software that they're submitting, their self-assessment they're submitting. So what are we supposed to do as accountants? Are we supposed to send the data over to accounts production software, build a set of accounts for them, and then go back to whatever solution we're doing, maybe do some updates or, opening balance journals or anything? It's just going to become a complete mess if we're going to go down that route. So yeah, we're going to have, common sense is going to have to say that at some point, we're going to have to say that, this is the data we've submitted, but we've submitted it by another piece of software. We're going to use that end of year in whatever software we're going to use. And hopefully, fingers crossed, like the data just flows in there as, P60s and all that sort of information goes. That's what we would build if we were able to have a magic wand. And I think that's it. I think that's everything. I think we've covered enough topics there. We've got a few more topics that we'll carry over for next week, I think, on that one. Remember, if you do have any questions for us, to make sure that you use the question box down below, and you can release any questions or feedback or whatever it's going to be, so that we can answer them on next week's show. Johann, anything you want to promote, push, talk about for this week coming forward?
No, quite a week. Well, not quite at all, but all over the place for meetings. But I'm back to being a group managing director. I'm talking to my team. I'm talking to clients. We've got some meetings coming up with our investors. We've got some meetings coming up with a potential acquisition. All of that good day-to-day stuff that I've not really done for the last few weeks because I've been all over the place with other tasks such as Accounting Web Live and working with the team at QuickBooks, etc. So it'd be nice to get back to normality.
Yeah, definitely. Same for me. I've got a bit of a plug as well. QuickBooks Live is on Wednesday, and it's our annual let's look back at the year and try and figure out what the software they've released or features they've released and try and rank them. So it's always one of the more exciting episodes of QuickBooks Labs. So yeah, hopefully people can join us for that one. That's definitely going to be something that we're looking forward to on Wednesday. Don't forget that Ask the Accountant goes live each and every Monday, 8:30 a.m. So if you are listening to us back on a podcast service of your choice, then do think about coming to join us live on a Monday. And speaking of podcasts, we go live on Wednesdays on the podcast service, as I said, of your choice. So plenty of ways to listen to us and understand us. And we are very, very hopeful. I'm going to touch a lot of wood here. We are going to release our very first QuickBooks Ask the Accountant. So QuickBooks Ask the Accountant, We Have Cool Friends. That episode should be live on Friday. So we've got a bit of a question mark over how we deliver it, but I think we've got it all sorted now. So we should find that you'll have on Friday dinner time something a little bit special, a little bit extra for you listening ears, and we'll love to hear some feedback over that one when it goes live. And that's it, Johann. So from me, it is a goodbye.
And goodbye from me.
Goodbye, everybody. See you next week, 8:30, as always. And we look forward to answering your questions. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.